Yes, you did. You decreased the number of imports. So this is imp after. Before we do the welfare of this and why governments like this, could you have a tariff that would actually completely crowd out imports? What would you have to do? Somebody raised their hand in the blue shirt in the back. Are you stretching? Correct. Bingo, right? So all you have to do is raise the specific tax high enough so it's above the equilibrium free trade price, and you've crowded out foreign imports, right, via a tariff. So you can achieve a trade ban via a tariff, or you can achieve it by simply forbidding imports, right? Both ways work and achieve this goal of not having any imports. Here, the more interesting way of looking at it is having a tariff where you still have some imports and some domestic production, but you can scale this depending on how big you want imports to be. So let's do the welfare of this, and then I'll answer your questions. We're going to need some more complicated pizza slices here. Okay. A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Okay, A is this not quite triangle up here, C, Massachusetts, G, triangle right here, D, this little triangle, E is a rectangle in the middle, F, this triangle, and B is this little triangle up here. Okay, how do you do this? Always start with the free market outcome, because those are always easier, all right? So the free market outcome is Q star, price is PW right here, demand is downward sloping black line, so consumer surplus is going to be area above price over the range of consumption below demand. A, C, B, D, E, F. Or let's do it in order, A, B, C, D, E, and F. A plus B plus C plus D plus E plus F. Domestic producer surplus is going to be, well, in their initial setting, they produce QUSA. This is the supply curve. This is price, so it's just G. Government has no revenue under free trade, so welfare is A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, now we're going to go to Q double star, where we charge the tariff. Look at what happens to consumer surplus. So price rises from PW to PW plus tau. So this is the new equilibrium price right here. New equilibrium quantity produced and consumed. New equilibrium quantity consumed is Q double star, and the demand curve is downward sloping. So the issue here is that we're looking under the demand curve, above the new equilibrium price, over range of consumption. So consumer surplus is A plus B. Are consumers happy? No. Right? They lose a huge amount. They lose C, D, E, and F. How about domestic producers? Well, the new equilibrium price is this green line with a red at the end here. This is domestic supply. Consumption domestically produced is QUSA star or prime right here. So it's area above supply up until this line right here, below the new price, over the range of production, so it's C plus G. So this is usually where we stop, right? And we would say consumer surplus plus producer surplus, now we have A, B, C, and G, and D, D, and E, and F has to be deadweight loss. Well, what happens here, right? What is this distance right here? That's imports. Right? What's the height of my hand right here? Tau. Right? What does government get for each unit imported? Gets tau dollars, right? Because for each bottle of French wine sold, they get their $5 tariff. So for all the units imported, which is the difference between QUSA prime and Q double star right here, the government gets tau dollars, which is the distance between these two lines right here. So tau times number of units imported, that's total government revenue, total government tariff revenue. So E right here is going to be tariff revenue for the government. Much like for specific taxes, we count that as part of overall welfare because government captures that and redistributes it in some form to the people. So what we've got here is total welfare is now going to be A and B consumer surplus, C and G producer surplus, plus E in tariff revenue. A plus B plus C plus E plus G. So what do we lose? D and F. Why do I like this example? Because people always think that deadweight loss is one triangle. Well, take that. So deadweight loss is two triangles. So deadweight loss here is going to be minus D minus F. Consumers, of course, lose minus C minus D minus E minus F, and producers gain C, government gains E. So producers capture the C area of consumer surplus, government captures E, that rectangle of consumer surplus, and D and F disappear into thin air or are captured by foreign producers. All right? This is not going to be on the exam. Yeah, I think it's going to be hard enough, don't worry. It's not going to be that hard. Why did I bother you with this shortly before the exam? This is a hard problem. Did I come up with crazy concepts here? No, right? I just said there's a tariff or there's a trade ban, and I figured out, using my pictures here, what's equilibrium quantity and price, and then I walked through the steps that I know. What's consumer surplus, area under demand, above price, over range of consumption. Right? When you do the exam, stick to what you know. Don't jump at the answer like a 5-year-old going, oh, I know. You know, I could write anything, and my kid always says that says Darth Vader, right? Don't do that. Use the sort of steps that I've taught you so you know how to work through the problem itself, and you come up with an answer that makes sense. Then sit back and think about whether that answer corresponds to your intuition. If it does, it's probably right. If it doesn't, check your intuition and make sure you're not thinking something crazy, and then do it again, right? But follow the steps. You'll do much better rather than guessing what it is you think is the right answer. Because if you just guess, you would have never come up with D and F, unless you're a genius. All right, that's all I've got to say. Who's got questions? So should we do numbers? Because that's fair. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4. Anybody else? Let's start with 4. So number 1. When there's negative consumer surplus. Yeah, people hate that one. Can I draw on the blackboard, or do you want me to draw on this thing? Who wants the blackboard? Who wants this annoying thing? Ah, damn it. All right. Blank PDF. That seems like a great idea. Can you ooh, that's not good. Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. No. New. Blank PDF. Oh, here was my fatal mistake. Landscape, create. Okay. The question in the room right now is, Max, there was this thing with a negative producer surplus, and I still don't get what happened here. All right? This is a great question. You can do either. Let me walk you through what I mean, okay? And it'll be crystal clear, I hope. Price, quantity. So we've got a supply curve, and we've got a demand curve. Here's demand, here's supply. If I leave this market alone, this is equilibrium price, this is equilibrium quantity. Right? We agree that this is right. I mean, if you can't figure this one out, you should go back to Econ 1. That sounds horribly arrogant. So that's it. What we said is if this market is actually perfectly competitive, this allocation here maximizes welfare, right? You can't get more consumer surplus and producer surplus of sum of the two than this allocation. Then what I showed you is if you produce less than Q star, you have deadweight loss in terms of this triangle. And then I said if you produce more than Q star, you also have deadweight loss. And your question relates to the latter, which is if I force you to produce more than Q star, there's deadweight loss, and that involves some negative either producer or consumer surplus depending on how you draw it, all right? So let's say I am forcing This is a really good question for multiple reasons. You should pay good attention. Okay, so there's several possible ways of doing this, right? So I force firms to produce more than Q star. One way to do this is by simply forcing individuals to pay more, right? This is the textbook example. I'm forcing you to buy a textbook that you wouldn't buy it at free market price, but I'm forcing you to buy it at a really high price. So I'm forcing you to pay P double star, and you're buying a quantity higher. Or here at P triple star and this higher quantity, this is a setting where some person that has power over producers and maybe a planned economy forces producers to sell a larger quantity at a lower price than producers would otherwise sell. So let's do the first one, all right? The first one is the textbook example here, where the equilibrium quantity is Q double star and equilibrium price is P double star, all right? So I'm going to circle the ones we're going to look at. So what happens? Consumer surplus, producer surplus, welfare, Q star, Q double star. Let's do some pizza slices, all right? The pizza slices I'm going to need are going to be A, B, C, D, E, F, and G. Okay. Let's do the Q star outcome first. That one's easy, right? If Q star is your equilibrium quantity, P star is your equilibrium price, I think we all know by now that A plus B is consumer surplus. We need one more, sorry. We need an H down here. And producer surplus is the area below price to the left of Q star above supply, so it's C plus H. So welfare is A plus B plus C plus H. Easy, right? Now, if we're at P double star and Q double star, I'm forcing you to buy high-priced textbooks, right? Let's do producers first because that's easy. It's the area above supply, right? So this here is supply. They're producing Q double star units, and they're getting P double star dollars per unit. So producer surplus is going to be the area under price, above supply, over the range of production. So it's going to be B, C, H, and D. Oops, sorry, I'm in the wrong column here. B, C, H, and D. Now the hard part here is consumer surplus, right? Consumer surplus is the difference between demand and market price paid over the range of consumption. So how many units are consumers consuming? Q double star, right? Q2 star. So consumers are consuming this whole range right here. What price are they paying? P double star. Is their marginal willingness to pay or their demand above price over that entire range of consumption? Is demand greater than price over this whole range here? No, right? Up until here, demand is greater than price, right? And here, demand is less than price. Right? So up until this quantity right here, that's your regular consumer surplus. Your marginal willingness to pay is greater than price. So even if beers are $30, I get out of a 5-day, 60-hour session, I'm willing to pay, I don't know, maybe $60 for a beer. If they charge me $30, I still get $30 of consumer surplus. That won't last very long, right? So at this high price then, since I'm forcing you to consume this stuff, right, you have no choice but to buy the textbook. At this high price for a bunch of individuals, their marginal willingness to pay is below the price I'm actually charging you. So the consumer surplus here is actually negative, right? Your willingness to pay for that next unit of textbook is lower than what it costs, right? But I come in every day and I check, do you have your textbook and does it have your name in it, right? So what you're getting here is up until this point where demand crosses the prices, you get positive consumer surplus. So A is positive consumer surplus. So let's use a cool color. Green is always, I'm a climate guy. Green to me is a happy color. So this here is positive consumer surplus. Over this range of production right here, marginal willingness to pay is greater than price. But for the second range right here, it's less than price. So it's negative consumer surplus. What color do I dislike? I like all colors. So this whole area here, right, this yellowish area right here, that's the difference between your marginal willingness to pay and price. Your marginal willingness to pay is now lower than price, so it's negative consumer surplus. So this here is negative consumer surplus. Fortunately, this projector is crappy, so you can read it on the screen. I can't even see it. So total consumer surplus here is going to be A plus whatever negative consumer surplus I have, so plus negative numbers, so I get A minus D minus G. All right? So now consumer surplus is going to be, total welfare is going to be A plus B plus C plus H plus D minus G, right? So the D's cancel out. So I get A plus B plus C plus H plus D minus G. A, B, C, the D's. Oh, boo, Max, boo. Thank you. I just made a big deal out of the D canceling out, and then he puts it down on the screen. Loser. So A plus B plus C plus H is what we had before. Now we have A plus B plus C plus H. We're happy. Like a snowman. Minus G, right? So deadweight loss here is G. Somebody got the Frozen reference. Dead weight loss. Okay? Did that make sense? You really want me to do P triple star? You should, because that may or may not be an exam question I've already written. All right, let's do P triple star. You should buy her around a coffee, or two. I said nothing. New, blank PDF, landscape, create. Yes. All right, quickly redrawing what I did here. Quantity, price, supply, demand. Leave the market alone. You get P star, Q star. Okay, that's the equilibrium outcome if you leave the market alone. Now, what I'm saying is you've got some genius policymaker who says P star is too high, and he's going to force all producers to sell however much consumers want at P double star. Okay, this is different now. Before, I forced consumers to pay the high price. Now, I'm forcing producers to accept a low price and still sell the really big quantity. We're going to need some more pizza slices, okay, for reasons that will become apparent in a second. So whenever I do these problems, I go pizza slice crazy, all right? It's better to have more pizza slices than few pizza slices. Clarifying question. You can make it up, right? As long as I can read the alphabet, which is Greek, and the regular one with the 26 letters, you can use umlauts if you want. But those two alphabets I read, you can label them any way you want. You can also have more pizza slices. More is better. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Let me just think for a second. Do I need another one? No, we're good. Okay. Consumer surplus, producer surplus, welfare, big lines, Q star, Q double star. And then if you wanted to, you could do the change too. Okay, here we go. We're ready. All right, the Q star is easy. Consumer surplus, A. Producer surplus, B plus C. Max, you're going too fast? No, I'm not. You know this in your sleep. The hard part is trying to figure out what consumer and producer surplus are at equilibrium price and quantity. Trust me, you always, for the past 10 years, students jump immediately to worrying about pizza slices. That's the second thing you worry about. The very first thing you have to worry about is what's going to be equilibrium price and what's going to be equilibrium quantity. Without figuring those two things out, you're screwed. Okay, it's that simple. So figure out what equilibrium price and quantity are here. So here, this genius regulator is forcing firms to sell things at P double star as much as consumers want to buy. So equilibrium price is P double star, equilibrium quantity is Q double star. What does this mean for consumer surplus? That's the easy one right here. Do consumers love this? More cheap apartments. How do we feel about that? Awesome, right? So low price. We're going to consume Q double star. Demand is our demand curve, so it's the area above, bless you, equilibrium price, below demand, over the range of consumption, so it's going to be A, B, D, and E. Whoa. The fact that this is in red has no significance. I'm just too lazy to change the pen. Okay, how about producers? Sell more stuff cheaper. Do you think they like that? No, of course not. Same thing. What's producer surplus? It's the difference between price and marginal cost, right here. So it's the difference between price and supply. What happens at this point right here? Right? Up until this point, price is greater than marginal cost or supply right here. So that's our traditional producer surplus that we love, right? In the long run, that's actually profit. So C right here is positive producer surplus. What did that? The happy color was green, I believe. So this C right here, this here is positive producer surplus. But what happens if I move further out here? Supply or marginal cost is greater than the number of dollars I get for it. We call that negative profits in the long run, right? You're paying more to produce the stuff than you actually get in the market. So over this range of production here, from this red dot all the way out to Q double star, your marginal cost of production is higher than price. So the difference between supply and price over this range of production here is D, E, F, and G, but it's negative producer surplus. So let's use our yellow here again. This thing here is negative producer surplus. So what's total producer surplus? It's the sum of the two, right? It's C plus D, E, F, and G, but D, E, F, and G is negative. So producer surplus is C minus D minus E minus F minus G. Whoa. Okay, so what does this mean for total welfare? Sum the two. It's A plus B plus D plus E. Let's write it out. A plus B plus D plus E minus C minus D minus E minus F minus G. Some stuff cancels out here. Did I forget something? Minus C. Oh, yeah, plus C. Sorry. Plus C minus D minus E minus F minus G. Does stuff cancel out here? D cancels out.